Using Hubbell Power Systems Versatech Programmer, the Versatech Recloser is as simple to program as it is to install. With a Windows-based computer or an iPad, the Versatech can be programmed prior to installation or after installation at any time. An instruction manual included with each recloser provides step-by-step instructions on how to connect to and program the various settings specific to each type of Versatech recloser. Once a connection is established with a Versatech recloser, a main screen with basic recloser settings is displayed under a Settings tab. For example, familiar recloser parameters of minimum trip, reset time, TCC curves, number of trips before lockout, sequence coordination, and other parameters are shown. Starting on the left side of the Settings tab, the Versatech recloser minimum trip value is the overcurrent value at which the recloser will trip. The minimum response time is a predetermined time that the recloser must wait to trip. If this time exceeds the value of the TCC curve, then the recloser will trip at the minimum response time. However, if the TCC time exceeds the minimum response time, it will be ignored and the recloser will trip on the TCC curve. This can be used, for example, in coordination when there is crossover in the TCC curves at higher trip values. The reset time is the time before the incremented shot or trip count is zeroed out and a new set of reclosing cycles begins. The handle delay feature is unique to the Versatech recloser and provides journeymen with added safety when closing a circuit, such as time necessary for the journeyman to clear the area and safely remove the hook stick. By toggling the yellow handle back to the up position, the user initiates closing the circuit, but the handle delay introduces a delay to closing the internal contacts of the vacuum bottle for the programmed amount of time. Next, the cold load time is the amount of time that the recloser will not trip up to the cold load pickup value when the contacts are closed from a lockout state, i.e. when the yellow handle is used to manually close the contacts. If an overcurrent is detected during the cold load time and above the cold load pickup value, then recloser will trip on the programmed TCC2 curve. The cold load pickup value is a multiplier of the minimum trip. For example, if the cold load pickup is programmed to 2 and the minimum trip is programmed to 100 amps, then the recloser must see at least 200 amps in order to trip during the cold load time on the TCC2 curve. Below these settings are the reclose operation, trip, or shot-specific settings of enabling the minimum response time, which TCC curve, TCC1 or TCC2 to use, the reclose interval, open time between shots, whether sequence coordination should be enabled, and the overall number of program shots before a lockout. Enabling sequence coordination allows for the recloser to increment its count on that shot even though the programmed TCC time is not met and the recloser does not reclose or operate. This can be used when the recloser needs to keep in sequence with a downstream recloser that is operating in order to prevent additional blinks if that downstream recloser fails. If sequence coordination lockout is enabled, then the recloser will lock out on the 5th overcurrent event. Perhaps the most unique feature of the Versatech recloser is the ability for the user to program the one-shot or non-recloser red handle functions on the device. The NR handle may be programmed in either one mode or two modes. If the recloser is programmed to one single mode, then every time that the NR handle is toggled down, the recloser will be in that one mode. If the Versatech is programmed to two or dual mode, to put the recloser in the first program mode, simply toggle the red handle down. To put the recloser in the second mode, toggle the NR handle down, up, down within 30 seconds. The Versatech can have one NR mode and one HLT mode programmed through the UI. Whenever the HLT mode is selected, the beacon will flash, indicating to the user that the unit is in HLT and not NR mode. If the Versatech is in a one-shot mode, the recloser state will indicate that mode in the UI. Finally, the user may choose up to 2 TCC curves to program on up to 4 shots or reclose operations. All Versatech reclosers offer a standard set of 11 curves, each having 3 modifiers which are stored on the recloser control. Dependent on the Versatech type and firmware version, there can also be either 4 or 10 additional curves stored on the control board. Additionally, the Versatech XC and 2 reclosers include a TCC editor within the UI, in which manual or custom curves can be added to the recloser control and/or stored in the UI for later programming. If operating a Versatech 2 or Versatech XC recloser, additional advanced settings are also available in the UI. Under the Setup drop-down menu located at the top left of the window, the user can choose to modify when the reset time begins, enable symmetric and/or asymmetric inrush, enable or disable low battery mode, and access the SCADA modem utility for modifying modem settings. Additional details about these settings can be found in the Versatech XC instruction manual. The next tab selectable in the UI is the Real-Time Monitoring tab, which displays various root mean square or RMS current values measured by the recloser. If connected to the recloser wirelessly and when installed on a loaded line, the Now value provides the RMS current seen in amperes up to the maximum nominal load for the recloser type. The Versatech 1, 2, and XC reclosers are rated up to 400 amps continuous current, whereas the Versatech LT is rated for 100 amps. Next, the last hour value provides the average load over the last 60 minutes. If the recloser is being installed in a new location or additional load is being added to the line, this value may be reset to measure fresh load data. Finally, the peak value is the peak current seen during a 1-minute interval of the last hour. As with the last hour value, this value can be reset at any time in order to clear any previously measured data points. In the Versatech 2 and XC UI, an hourly demand log is also displayed, which shows the peak and average hourly RMS currents. When loaded, the demand log values are shown and are also graphed to visually display the RMS load profile over the period of time loaded. The Event tab in each of the Versatech UIs is primarily used to display recloser over current events, which includes identifying the shot number, type of event, control response time, max over current amperage, and curve name. However, dependent on recloser type, what is displayed slightly differs. For example, in the Versatech 1 and LT UI, an hourly demand log is displayed in this tab and shows the peak and average hourly RMS currents. As with the VT2 and XC UI, when loaded, the demand log is graphed to visually display the RMS load profile over the past month. In the Versatech 2 and XC UI, no demand log is shown under the Events tab. However, the user may select a particular event in the event log and see oscillography for the program number of pre-trip and post-trip cycles along with that event. Specific to the Versatech 2 and XC recloser UI is a Device Log tab. This includes all the control commands that are sent in the firmware to, for example, open or close the bottle, update GPS, detect a fault, clear a fault, reach low battery mode, etc. Also specific to the Versatech 2 and XC UI is the Commands tab. This tab provides 6 commands and associated radio buttons to change the state of the recloser. For example, a user may flash the LED beacon to identify the device, place the recloser in hotline tag or non-reclose mode, open the bottle, close the bottle, or send the device to lockout, which includes dropping the yellow handle. If the user places the recloser in HLT mode, the associated pattern beacon will flash to indicate the recloser is in that mode. Additionally, it is important to note that if the recloser is sent to lockout and the yellow handle drops, the unit cannot be closed via the close command through the UI. This requires a manual reset by the user. On any tab of the UI, the user can view the username, the firmware revision on the control board, the radio type or serial used to communicate with the recloser, and the hardware revision. Additionally, the recloser UTC time and the serial number of the recloser is displayed. Also provided in the Versatech UI are additional indicators to allow the user to know in which state the recloser is. Along the bottom edge of the UI, top middle of the VT1 UI, in the Versatech 2 and XC UI, there are 4 buttons that illuminate if the recloser is currently in that state. These include the contacts being open, green, or close, red, and if the recloser is in HLT, orange mode, or NR, red mode. With the Versatech 2 and XC UI, a user is provided additional visibility in the Advanced Status menu on the state of the battery under recloser status, as well as the current GPS coordinates and number of satellites under GPS status. Finally, in any Versatech UI, a user can generate a report, Generate Report, in the upper right hand of the window. The report provides a detailed summary of all recloser settings, recloser status, event logs, device logs, audit logs, demand logs, firmware revision, and more. This report may be generated on any PC, iPad, or iPhone app, and the information included may be tailored by the user through a pop-up window which appears when the Generate Report button is selected.